Welcome to Guitar Knobs, the guitars, gear, noise, and nonsense podcast, hosted today by these knobs.
Jay Donovan.
Aaron Cook.
Brian Adams.
Guest knob.
Guest knob. Second guest knob. At what point we haven't figured out, hey, I'm Todd, Novak. But what we're trying to determine is at what point does a reoccurring guest knob gain a different status of knobness?
Gets like an extra badge or something.
Yeah, or just not guest. Like
Contributor knob.
yeah,
maybe?
contract knob.
Contract knob?
I don't know.
Brian the contractor.
I'm liking this.
We haven't figured that out yet. Hey, everybody. Welcome to an awesome new episode. I hope it's awesome. I usually say that at the beginning and then cross my fingers. But I think this is going to be a good one. It's certainly relevant to a lot of us in this room and assuredly relevant to others out there.
I nearly yelled at you over this topic one day, didn't I?
You did.
Well, I have a feeling you're going to be yelling at me then.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
I just kind of went off on him when he brought it up.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
It was
but
very exciting.
It was
Very
great.
passionate.
Yes. So Brian is not the Brian Adams.
A Brian Adams.
A Brian Adams, but the Brian Adams who has been on before. So Brian, a little bit about him. He's very, very, very organized. Is that safe to say?
That's fair.
It's fair. Yeah, we've traded organizational. We're similar in the things that we are passionate about, and also like
We share compulsion.
I was going to say,
Yes.
code name, crazy.
So I knew that in asking Brian a couple of the things that we're going to discuss today, he would be very helpful in. So, especially after he went off on me about it. Anyhow,
I wish I could have been there.
I'll do it again.
I went on a
We'll
rant.
recap the whole thing.
Good.
Yeah. Well,
We have to hear you go off, though. Can we get that
It
on?
was. He just caught me at a time where I felt like lecturing someone, and he was on the other end of it.
Yeah.
Just let me know when you're about to blow up.
Yeah.
I'll tune you down a little bit so we don't clip.
So guys have been traveling a little bit. Jay has been on the TechCrunch road tripping
Roadshow.
roadshow.
Keynoting.
and sandwich making,
You guys
Keynote,
should
yeah.
search for Jay Donovan TED Talk and see the
The smart blazer he's wearing.
The
it was
fantastic
white,
cover.
right? I got a lot of,
Yeah.
You got a lot of comments on your white blazer.
Yeah.
I was like, no one heard
But
what
what
I
about
said.
his
No one's ever
This
seen
blazer
anybody
was
wear
really
a dinner
sharp.
jacket to a.
Yeah, but
It was summer. It was
Yeah.
hot.
It's a nice
Summer. It was
linen.
California.
Nice linen cut.
But your face on the cover image of the YouTube video,
It's pretty epic.
wow.
Yeah.
I'm not, it's out of my control.
He's a brainiac, so it was cool to hear that side of him, not
Yeah.
just the dopey side we showcase here.
You should feel thankful that we all
Thanks,
actually
I
went and
think.
watched it.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, we were kind of
See that?
obliged to.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like talking about himself.
Yeah. Okay, so enough about you, Jay. Tell us more about you, what you did this weekend.
Enough talk about me. Let's talk
But-
about you. What do you think of me?
What's new with you in your music world this week, my friend?
This week,
Or the last week? The week in between.
I'm
The amount of time that has passed since last we met.
The week. I mean a day. I mean a weekday.
man. What's changed? I've actually been using Fisher's amp, and
Not a Fisher amp.
no, not a Fisher amp,
Right.
but Jeff Fisher.
Jeff Fisher.
the other knob,
The fourth knob.
who's not here tonight.
Right. Who's being a knob by not being here.
The false knob.
Yeah, and I'm not going to talk. I'm talking about the cabinet that he made.
Specifically, you're talking about a bass amp.
Yes.
Yes.
And he made handmade cabinet. He powers it with. I'm not going to talk about the power section at all. Just this cabinet. He
Okay.
made this 12-inch, and
It's pretty sweet.
the dude made this by hand. He
That's how things are made.
yeah. Well, not everything.
In
Some things are made
America.
by robots.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, lots of things are made by robots.
There's no robots in America.
Merc. No, but Jeff made this. He ported it really well. The amp is light. It's easy to use. There's a lot of detail where everything's stapled and covered.
You're talking about the cabinet.
Yeah, the cabinet.
Okay.
He's an artist.
What else would
It's
we
a little
be
piece
talking
of
about?
artistry there, and it's a 12-inch. And I can't remember what cabinet he put.
So
or
he gave you
what
his big
does.
12-inch?
Stop. I knew there was a joke coming.
I mean,
I set that up actually.
Okay.
We talked about this. No, the 12-inch speaker in it. I haven't taken anything apart because I'm like afraid to like drop it. I'm afraid my cat's gonna pee on it, or like I've got to
give it to me if that's
I'm like kind of afraid because he's loaning it to me for a month.
Right.
And I'm kind of like, I've been very soft on it, and I'm not being real hard on it, trying to like not break it.
Hard on it.
So anyway, I don't want to break the thing because it's really nice. But what I really like about the cabinet is it gets really loud, and the thing doesn't vibrate and fall apart. It doesn't sound like it's falling apart. Jeff really did a good job. So anyway, I don't know how to he doesn't make amps for anyone else but himself. So it's not like it's his business or anything. But
to clarify, he's not making amps.
Cabinets.
Cabinets. Right. That's what I meant. But the point is, he could make cabinets for other people. So
Yeah, we're gonna make one.
You are with him?
We'll get into this later.
He's a magician with wood.
Yeah. Oh, whoa. Sorry
Oh,
about
come on.
So
Pull yourself
off Skype, dude. Jesus.
Pull yourself together, man.
So what was the speaker configuration? I know
It's
you
like
said
a
it's a 12.
It's a 12 and a port. He's got a port.
There's no horn. There's no.
No.
Really?
I thought he said there was a horn.
No, there is. There is a small one on the top.
We're
That's
gonna
right.
make
Yeah.
you say that.
Not bad.
So we're in a
spoke too
full
quickly.
range bass cabinet then,
Yeah.
with an airport.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
That's pretty neato. How do you finish it?
It's all black. It's felt.
Felt
But he's got corners. He's got the plastic on the corners.
closed back, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's pretty. It's like a real. I'm like, hey, this is like
It's like a real cabinet. You're a real boy.
Yeah.
I know he tinkered a lot on that thing.
Yeah.
We had a lot of early conversations when he was putting that thing together. So I think it went through a few sort of trials and errors.
Yeah, I
To
mean,
get a
he's
word.
built some other pretty spectacular speaker things for his home.
It's unreal, actually.
And if you in his house, if you've ever seen his house, and you guys have seen his house, I think.
Well, I've
like,
seen his house.
All the things he's built out of wood, like cabinets and like the hidden TV. He hides his TV behind in his old house rather.
Yeah.
Secret passageways. The guy's got skills. So
Yeah.
we make fun of him a lot here, but he actually.
We make fun of him outside of here, too.
We're constantly making fun of him, but dude has actual skills.
Yeah, that's cool. Thanks for sharing, Jay.
Jay.
You're welcome.
Aaron, what's up?
The Cavs won last night. I just had to throw it out there.
Okay.
I'm super happy as
All
a
right.
Cleveland fan. So, musically, I'm sorry, man.
Gloss over that quickly.
It's been years of suffering.
It has been. So, I'm feeling good. Been working on tracking some more music. Dug up another old song of mine and resurrecting it. So, I shared that one with you that I'm pretty close to final.
That was outstanding. Like, legitimately, that was a really great track. I truly hope that you make more of it because
I'm going to make
it's
more.
really good.
I'll make more. So yeah, I think honestly where I am right now is like a couple songs I've written in the past that never saw the light of day. Just want to get those resurrected out the door and then start focusing on some of the stuff that I've started and then kind of put down. So
Did you do same kind of genre?
a little more.
This is like flat brim hats and wristbands and jumping. up and
Yeah,
down.
It's your old
I
stuff. Want to evolve it a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah, but it was really well written, and we've dibble-dabbled, tippy-toed into home recording here a little bit. I know that we're gonna talk a lot more about that as we progress, but I was very impressed at the how well it was recorded.
You're setting the bar too high. I will eventually share this, and people will listen to it and like, what the hell?
No, well, hey, doesn't matter what you do if it sounds good.
What kind of
Yeah.
mics?
Well, basically, everything's just fed into. I have a Focusrite input or interface, so everything's going in through that. Drums, I use a program or plugin called Easy Drummer 2, and then I customize my own beats.
So right when you say, "Oh, I used a program for drummer," immediately my brain says discount, right? And
I don't know. I mean,
it sounded legit good.
Yeah, you can get.
They're getting pretty good. The samples are getting really good.
You mean they're getting pretty well?
No.
They're good.
So then, vocally, or if I ever, my buddy Jake's gonna lay a trombone track down on that. I'll
He's
eventually
playing
do
in my
some
band.
Yeah, an acoustic guitar. I have a Rode NT1A. I think I've talked about that before, but that's basically the only mic.
You went
that I
on
use.
and on about it.
Yeah.
On and on.
And you know, the girl you had singing was
Shut up! I seriously am starting to think you think there's a girl singing on
I'm
that.
not into the joke. What is it?
he.
Do you sing falsetto?
I didn't know that he
No.
was singing. I didn't know he was singing. I was like, this is kind of a higher register, a little bit higher register, and it was,
Yeah,
kind of
it's-
smooth out, and it was like, it just,
You are kinda
it sounded
girlish
like,
now
it
that-
kind of sounded like a ballsy chick singing a little bit, but then I was like, whoa, wait a minute, and then I heard a little bit of your rasp in there.
Yeah.
I was like, holy crap, that's Aaron.
Yeah, I mean that song does. There's a couple parts, especially vocal harmonies, where I'm starting to get to the top of my register.
Yeah, I was impressed all the way around. What guitars were you playing?
Let's see. On that one, Flying V, my Epiphone Flying V.
What color is it? Tell us about the guitar.
It's
a gear show, dude.
yeah, it's a two-tone, black and white, like split right down the middle. Epiphone Flying V.
Like a Schenker? Like Michael Schenker?
Maybe.
I mean, like Michael Schenker.
Yeah. Yeah, my buddy told me when I was in my old ska band, like, hey, I found this thing on Musician's Friends.
Oh,
You
yeah,
should get it.
two-tone,
So
for
I
sure.
got it. And then the other guitar I used was on the left channel is my Les Paul Jr. Just so I have, when it came to the distortion or the distorted crunch guitars, I had one smooth and then one that's a little raw.
Mm-hmm.
Raw.
I'm familiar with that one.
Yeah, you are. You dialed it up for me.
Mm-hmm.
Did
quite,
you like
quite nicely?
mic and amp and cabinet though, or did you use modelers or something?
Yeah.
Okay. So
and
so it gets
everything's
it really clean, but still sounds good. Yeah.
good enough.
Yeah.
I mean, eventually I do wanna-
Legit, it sounded like a
Yeah.
produced track. I
The modelers are pretty good too. I mean, like, yeah.
What? Tell us about the settings you had going on that.
The
Like,
what?
Do you remember some of where your modeling cab? What were you playing as far as your cabinet goes?
Let's see. So both the started guitars were Marshall JCM 800, even though they really aren't. They didn't. It's the basic Marshall half stack plugin that comes
Sure.
in Logic that I've sort of dialed up my own way and just tweaked it a little bit. So that's the one that I use on both the sorted guitars, and then let's see. There's a clean guitar that I did in there that is I forget. It's an old Fender. I can't remember which one.
Okay.
But yeah, because I tried a bunch of different things on that clean one.
Yeah, you did a bass as well, right? And you recorded your bass.
Basically, I didn't model any amp on that. I just used direct and then EQ'd to taste.
What were you playing on that bass?
That bass is my OLP Stuart Spector model. So OLP was this brand that was in existence for a couple of years in the early
Music Man.
2000s.
Right? It was a Ernie Ball.
Yeah, so
derivative.
they got the license for the Ernie Ball Stingray.
Doesn't it stand for original licensed product?
Yes, and then
Look at me.
Yeah,
Huh.
and then I bought the Stuart Spector kind, which I love that bass. But yeah, that's the one that I typically track.
Dude, I had that bass.
That's not the one.
No, but the Administrative Information has pulled up a Perloid pickguard, all black knobs, black hardware, Stingray bass.
You had that?
I had that, and I sold it.
Why?
Because
New guitars.
I was a dum-dum. But I wanted other stuff. So, anyways, I had to get my stinky PV bass.
Yeah.
Anyways, cool, man. Thanks for sharing.
Sure.
Looking to hear a lot more of that. Over to Brian.
Yes, I have actually started playing out a bit more. I had been taking a little break with the band and getting back to shows, and just started back this last weekend. So got a big summer schedule full. So
This is a busy time around our parts of the country.
Yep. It's getting started again. So I've actually been in gear selling mode too. I'm a whole separate topic, but I've sold some things on eBay recently. Potentially sold something to a famous person, which we won't get into here.
Wait.
Give away too many secrets.
why have
We
you
have
not
to get
do
into
that?
that.
I sold this, so we'll get right
That
into
wasn't
it.
a setup, by the way. That was
No.
legit. Like, we're like, what the hell?
What?
So, well, I mean, not super famous anyway, but I sell this thing. I had a Universal Audio 2192 A to D, D to A converter, big fancy thing. When I was using these old DigiDesign boxes, they had just terrible converters in them. So I bought this thing years ago. They only made it for a few years. It was awesome. It was designed by the guy that went on and started Burl Audio, like really high-end gear. And I thought, I'm not using this anymore. I've upgraded my home recording system. I'm just not using it. I should sell it. So I stick it on eBay, get a lot of offers for about a tenth of what I have it listed for. And then I finally sell it. And I'm like, man, this guy's name sounds really familiar, but not so familiar that I should know who he is. So I start Googling, and it's Warren Buffett's son. And he records all kinds of albums.
Find
and
stuff on eBay.
What's his name, Jimmy?
His name is Peter, in upstate New York, and the shipping address came through, and he's, got a little recording gig going on that he does. So there you go.
That's cool.
Okay.
Is it a particularly hard thing to find? Is that?
There's not as many of them out there. They only sold it for a couple of years, and they hold their value pretty well.
Yeah.
So I got a lot out of it. I'm going to turn it into some lighting. So if anybody knows anything about lighting, I'm going to have a lot of questions really soon.
Yeah, I don't.
You're going to start like your
I
own...
did lighting for corn one time.
That's a story I don't want to hear.
Legit. Hey, corn and
With a
Sugar Ray
flashlight?
the same night.
Wow.
Playing, no joke.
That
But this was back when they were called the Shrinky Dinks. Back in Orange County. Yep, there was a. Oh boy, that was a night.
Did you use like a flashlight? And
No, I literally, bass player gave me a box. We were all in the same music scene, and
this is like 90s, right? Early 90s.
yeah. This is the '90s, and it was at this Italian restaurant in Orange County that doubled as like a nightclub kind of thing, and Mark McGrath's up there with his little mirror, looking in the mirror, doing his thing with the Shrinky Dinks at that time. Shortly after that, they became the Sugar Ray, and then Korn was in its infancy, and so I just watched Monkey doing the bass, and I was watching him and just doing the little levers to what he was doing. Like, hey,
All right.
can you do lights? And he gave me a pitcher of beer, and I'm like, yeah, okay,
anything for a pitcher of beer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
yeah. Anyways, so that was a story. So okay, lighting. Getting some pro lighting for your
That's gonna be the new purchase.
because you do self-sufficient shows,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. We have all of our own PA. We have some lighting. It's just not super intelligent yet. But we use one of the Mackie digital mixers, so everything's run from an iPad.
Mm-hmm.
So I've already purchased the box to convert Wi-Fi into DMX control, so I can control the lighting with it. So our sound guy will actually be able to do lights right from an iPad app called Luminaire. We're using this $80 app called Luminaire. But so we don't have a snake, we don't have a front of house console, we don't have any of that. It's all just a dude sitting with an iPad, so he'll run the whole show from an
Dude,
iPad.
you're the most highly technically evolved, not nationally touring band in history.
I like gear. I like gear a lot.
sakes.
What's the name of this gig? Which one is this?
This is the cover band I've been playing with called Off the Hook. I started
Off the
filling
Hook,
in with
okay.
these guys about 4 years ago, and I just kind of never left. Then we started buying gear together, so I guess I'm kind of like in the fold now that I own gear.
So, but this is a like one where you go like, hey, we need you to play for like 4 hours straight.
Yep. Yeah, we'll do like 4-hour shows. We're up on Lake Erie.
I don't want to
this
discount
weekend
it
for a big
because it's
show.
like that's
Gotta know
that's a
all
huge
the-
task.
Yeah.
Yeah,
People discount that.
You probably, in the course of a night, we only take one little tiny about 10-minute break, so
Ooh.
it's nearly like a straight 4-hour show,
Right.
straight up.
So you're wearing diapers.
No, you just have strategic songs
Right,
where
like-
maybe one of you can disappear and
Acoustic,
yeah,
we'll do,
something
a
like that.
single
Yeah.
number and
Oh,
like,
do
get-
you have
get
like
crafty.
do you have an old ovation on a stand?
I did. I was when I went to Florida on vacation.
Yeah.
I was actually I sat on the plane and I downloaded 3 or 4 more podcasts and I was listening to you guys talk about it. And it's the Gracie stand. You need to call it by its name. And
The
yes,
Gracie stand.
I do own one. I had
I
one
love
back in the '90s, back before I switched to I started putting those little Fishman bridges
yeah.
on, so I could
Yeah.
do the acoustic thing on all my guitars. But back in the day, you had to step up and hug this
Yeah.
thing and play.
What would be epic though is if you kind of did a hybrid of that, like via Bon Jovi or whatever, and oh man, I just totally blanked out on the
Richie
on the name
Sambora.
of the movie. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna get crucified for this on air.
Dead Space, Dead Air.
Yeah, this is awkward.
the movie?
Yeah, we'll back
Wait.
up.
What's the movie about?
Yeah,
this
tell us
one
what-
goes to 11.
Final
Fast.
Fast.
To get me back up, don't. I'm not doing this.
We're exposing you for the fraud you are.
Absolutely not.
Fraud.
I had that on a license plate frame for like 5 years.
It
For
goes
Pete's
to
sakes, in
11?
California on my truck. It says, yeah, but this one goes to 11. Legit. That's a real thing. Not necessarily proud of it, but it's true.
No, you should be proud of that.
That's a
All right. I'm proud of that. No.
classic.
Anyways, yeah. So we're, if you moseyed on over to what's it called again?
The Gracie
The
stand.
Gracie stand, and instead of actually playing the ovation, you played it with your electric guitar.
That would be one way to do it, I guess.
man.
Yeah.
I had
Silly
a makeshift
times.
Gracie stand for my upright, but it was just a dolly. So I used to strap
Yeah,
my upright
You had a bungee cord.
bungee cord to a big
Yeah.
red dolly.
So you could just move it
dolly
off.
cart. Because we would do this, one group I was in, we would do this kind of like Zappa thing, and we would go back and forth between these little jazzy numbers and like all out.
We would do this Zappa thing.
Yeah. Well, we
We'd
would
learn,
just
we'd learn a few 40-minute
Do a
songs.
Zappa
And,
like there would be like maybe 15-minute songs or longer, and then we would switch styles all in one song. And so I'd play like these little jazz ditties, but we wanted it to sound kind of like an upright. So I wanted it to sound like an upright. So I just strapped this upright, got an ABC box, like one that was powered with a battery, so you can hear the click. And I would run back and forth between electric and upright.
You amaze me every single time we do this.
I know.
You never know.
I know.
You never know.
Man, so many layers to uncover with you.
It's like an onion, man.
Damn.
an onion and a white sports coat.
Yeah.
You know.
So what have you been up to, Todd?
Thanks for asking, Brian.
That's a good question.
It is. I have been up to an awful lot. We've got a show coming up this Friday. Shameless plug. It'll be over by the time anybody hears this. But so I recently purchased I was on the search for a boost pedal. I mentioned in a podcast before, and did the due diligence of spending hours and hours and hours on YouTube and the internet, and ended up getting a Busta Grande, a used Busta Grande, a BBE Busta Grande off of Reverb. And it was cool because I didn't want to get something that colored the sound. I wanted it as clean as possible. Granted, it says it's a clean boost, but a lot of clean boosts.
Is it 20 dB? Is that what it says?
You better believe it. +20 dB. And it's, when you get it, you're like,
What,
It's not aesthetically awesome in any way,
Nah.
shape, or form, but
But
that's
that-
okay.
But that's
I like that actually.
Well, that's nice. I'd like a
like
little.
the
I like
iPhone
put
of
some
pedals.
Yeah, put
One
some,
button.
Yeah, it's kind of
one knob.
Some
Anyways, it sounds great, and it.
So or is this you're playing the Vox now, right?
I'm playing a Vox AC15.
So you're just trying to hit it a little harder just to get it to grind,
Right,
a little
because
bit?
there's a couple tunes where I need to back out of that, and But this one keeps it at that. Like if I had everything cranked to 12, so the
Your
amp
amp
was
goes
really
to 12?
pushing. Mine goes to 12. You're trying to do an 11 here, 10. Push everything to 12.
Why not just make 10 louder?
I don't know because 12 is already on there. I think it actually does go to. I should know this on my own amp. It just you turn all the way to the right. I can't. Oh boy! It's a mystery of information. Look up what my amp does.
Does a Vox amp go to 12?
I even spent time putting new knobs on there. I mean, I should know that. I don't know why I said 12. Doesn't matter. Point is,
it does.
You
matter.
max it out. If you max it out, I need to be able to back it off, and this is letting me do that spectacularly.
So basically, you're leaving that 20 decibels on most of the time, but when you need to back out, you just turn it off.
I'm not doing a full 20 on this.
Okay.
Like I'm putting about 10 into it.
No numbers.
There's no numbers.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Maybe you wrote 12 in. There's no numbers at all. Yeah.
Just figuratively speaking, whether it's my amp or somebody else's amp. So that's what's confusing. Damn it, Vox. Put some numbers on the amp. Let us know what we're doing. Anyways, so yeah, it was cool because there's kind of a sweet spot you got to find if you're at like 9 o'clock. So you're zeroed out. You're at 6 o'clock on this knob here. If you go to 9 o'clock, turning it up clockwise, it's not quite. You're like, that's not that much. But if you go to 12, it's like,
Well, that's probably 10 dB. If it's halfway through its travel, right?
Yeah.
It's probably about halfway up.
So
Pass
I'm
it
digging
around,
that.
man.
Now, here's the only thing. When you buy used things, you're like, it's got to be awesome. It's probably nothing wrong with it. Wrong. So
You think that as a rule?
No, I mean that's just you hope that. I'm an optimistic fella. Anyways,
You are.
so the little light on here was not coming on. So I was like, is this what? Am I on or not? And then then I found out.
That's
So, no big deal if you're just practicing and stuff. But if you're playing live, you need to know if the thing's on or not. So the light we took it apart, and my drummer, who is a spectacular electronic technician,
He and Jeff should go into business together.
dude, I've told them many times
then
we
I'll
should
market
all be
them.
making pedals and stuff with everybody else
Make
on the
all the
planet.
money.
But anyways, so what we did is, we took it apart and tried to figure out what the heck was wrong with it, and didn't really see anything right away. But upon further investigation, we found out that the
Here we go.
What? Here we go. What? So that the capacitor in the power circuit, the power inlet rather, was bunk, and it wasn't getting it was getting like no juice. So a little bit of juice, not totally no juice, but it was jacked up. So we put in a new one
New flux capacitor.
with the same capacitance value, but with more voltage. So if a signal did, jump up for any reason, it could handle it. But at bare minimum, it powers the LED correctly.
So it came back on. The light
It came back on. Pedal works fine, but that would be, I could understand where somebody who didn't want to mess with it was like, I don't want this anymore. So my gain, their loss.
Did you get a discount on it?
The BBE Booster Grande.
Did you call that guy and be like, what the hell, man?
No, man. Because I was just like, I'll fix it. So there it is.
Hey,
I'll put it on the table right here. It's pedals are fun to touch.
It's tan and brown.
Yeah, it's like that's what I mean. It's like, man, that could have been like Booster Grande. Put like a Vaquero on it or something, or like some bandoleros.
An airbrushed cowboy riding off in the sunset.
I love these.
Yeah.
The click, man.
These switches.
Yeah.
They just,
So great.
The best.
It feels so good to just click them on and off.
Yeah. The first thing I did was take the knob off and try to put on some other ones, and then I just said,
That has no numbers on it either. You keep buying things with no numbers.
Dude, the knob on this is sweet.
It
looks
it's
like
a nice
an air
knob.
conditioner knob or something.
It kind of looks like those old Bakelite knobs.
Yeah,
you know,
I've got a bag full of knobs, and
Oh my god.
Oh,
Gosh.
all right.
You're being serious too, weren't you?
You've been waiting.
anyways, all right. So there's that, and that's rocking for me right now. Okay, enough of this nonsense, people. We're
focus.
gonna focus on what our main topic is today. As soon as Aaron stops clicking the pedal. And we are going to be talking about hearing protection, which isn't like super sexy, but we all have to deal with it. Anybody who's done this for any length of time, or even just is interested in music and likes going to live shows and stuff, is like, man, you got to deal with it. I dragged some ear protection out to watch the Eagles, not the Eagles, not Bryan Adams, but EAGULLS, they're a small London, or not London band, but a UK band. And they came and played for us here in Columbus, and they were awesome. Great band. Go check them out. And glad I did. It was helpful to my ears. So the reason that we're talking about this is that a little while back, so I'm a fan of Eddie Trunk. Probably a lot of you know who he is out there. He's got the That Metal Show, and he's got his own radio show. He's got a
Monday
million
nights on
different
XM.
Yeah. So the Eddie Trunk podcast is really great. He's got some fantastic interviews. And at one point in time, as anybody knows him, he was talking about hearing loss and how he's really worried about it. And obviously, he's been going to gigs all his life, and he knows everybody in the rock music industry. And so many people he was mentioning is like their hearing is totally shot, or is bad enough to where it's like they're having to take drugs to settle them down. And I didn't really understand. I was like, hey, how bad can that really be, right? Well, shortly thereafter, the first thing I did, I said he was kind of talking about this one brand of, I guess you could call them disposable hearing protection things, and he endorsed them. He's like, I take these to every show now. Like these have helped me out so much. I'm like, cool, sold. I'll get them. Got to start somewhere. So got them, and I got to be honest, I went into my practice, and it sounded like it was at the bottom of a swimming pool. I couldn't hear myself sing. I couldn't hear it. And I was trying. I was trying really hard. I was like putting them halfway in and everything. And then I just ended up taking them out. Well, as a result, like I started getting a little Morse code in my right ear, and that scared the crap out of me. So a little high pitch, it's always on, like a signal, it's always on, but never sustained. It's just kind of in and out. And man, that really worried me, because the stuff that he was telling me what was happening to these people, there's recorded cases of people offing themselves because it drives them insane, because they just have this high pitched squeal in their ear constantly. And so
Tinnitus.
Tinnitus scared me to death. So I started researching what I could do to combat that at different levels. I started out with the very small, obviously just spongy earplugs. I'm sure we've all tried those in rehearsal situations, right?
Yes.
And,
Pretty terrible.
Pretty terrible. It's
Yes.
better than nothing, but it's pretty terrible.
It's funny too. Just a little piece of foam in your ear if you've not tried them, it feels like you're wearing like the guys that direct the airplanes into the gate. It feels
Those
like you're
big
wearing
cans.
something that big. It blocks so much sound, and it sounds so horrible. All these, we just talked about all these great tones and these amps and all these sounds, and it feels like you can't even enjoy the tones because it blocks it all out. It's terrible.
Yeah.
And yet, that's the only thing I ever use. We can get to that later, though. I can explain that.
Yeah, explain it.
Well, because my friend got these like fancy they poured this stuff in his ear, and they were form fitted, and I thought about it, and I was like, yeah, it's like I can't even keep a pen for like one day, or a pair of sunglasses, or like I will pay $140 for these, and I will lose them on the second day that I have them, and so I've only ever used the cheap foam. And what happens to them? Every time I get them, I put them in my pocket, and then they're gone. It's like a constant flow of.
They're all in the bottom of the washing machine.
I don't know where they are. I don't know where they go. They just disappear. They're gone. So at least they're only like 9 cents a piece instead of like $140. Well, but I'm trying to say that they're still absolutely necessary, and they totally suck.
Yeah, it's hard though, because when you're thinking about this, you're like, surely in the great span of time of rock and roll, there's got to be some relatively inexpensive thing that will actually work. There is more or less an enormous amount of things that don't really work very well. So that just got me to thinking. I'm like, I want to talk to some people. I want to talk to obviously peers that are maybe going through the same thing, do a little recon and stuff. So I want to talk about that today. I'm going to let Brian kind of like run in here in a second. I know that he's chomping at the bit. I did put the ear, so the ones I got that Eddie Trunk was talking about are called erasers, like erasers, but with like an A at the
erasing
front.
Or like a razor that cuts your ear?
Like eraser, like eraser.
Eraser.
EARASEARS.
Eraser.
So like you're erasing the sound
from your ear. Okay.
But it's an ear in front of it. Anyways. And they're silicone cups. They're not full silicone plugs. So the idea is that I'll pass these around.
Have these been in your ear before I touch them?
We'll leave them in this sanitary case.
Yes, they have.
What these kind of look like before you describe them. We'll talk in a second about in-ear monitors, which is something that I use. But it almost looks like someone has just chopped the tip off of like an in-ear headphone or something, like just the part that goes down in the canal. That's what it. I'll leave that alone. But that's kind of what it looks like a clear version of that.
Yeah. It's a cup. So the idea is that it'll.
It's the tip of a cup.
It's never not funny.
They look like diodes or something.
They got these little pull things, kind of like when you see it. If you're talking to your grandpa or your grandma. And you're
like the hearing aid.
The little antenna thing that sticks out and goes
like a shrimp. They look like shrimp or something.
Yeah, like a ghost shrimp. Why would you smell the
like
earplugs?
Indian food.
Indian food?
Oh my God!
What are you? Are you saying my ears smell like Indian food?
It kind of smells like
like a tandoori or.
More like a curry.
Anyways, so I rejected those, and I came to Brian, and this is kind of where it all started.
This is where I ranted.
This is where he went off. I said, I spent some time, and I went to the site, and I got these things called dubs. Now, the name is off-putting for me, just because
you're way too old for
it's all
something
hip-hoppy and whatever. But what I found out was that these, first of all, like ergonomically, they're really good. I was impressed with the way that the site, positions them, both from a style and ergonomic sense. But it isn't just a plug. It's not a solid piece of something. It is several pieces of chambered materials. So the idea is that it helps to filter. So if I put them in this room, I would definitely hear all you guys from a clarity in the highs, but it definitely muffles all the lows, which is problematic if you're playing in a small rehearsal because the lows and the mids really tend to boom. So that makes it incredibly muffled. And kind of basically squishes out my high end. It was helpful at a show, I will say. I had these at the show.
As in, like, not a show you were playing, but at a concert you attended, right?
I couldn't wear these playing live. That's kind of the problem.
I think that's what I said.
So anyways, I'm like, dude, look at these. I got them I think I got them on special for $20. They are $25 at getdubs.com. And they're a good solution for $25. It's a heck of a lot better than foam earplugs. And you can get them in a variety of colors. So I like them. This isn't the grand solution. So the minute I was like, hey, Brian, look at these. Like, he blew up and turned on me and unleashed his fury of hearing knowledge. So with that, I will shut up.
I'll keep it calmer today now that I've had a chance to think about it. But I think I've had moments like yours before, and I am really passionate about it because it is something that can really, you guys are all like I am, and you really enjoy all of this stuff that we talk about and we spend all this money on, and we love this gear and we love all these things. And if your ears are ringing constantly and you can't enjoy that, then that kind of ruins the whole experience and you're done, right? Like you can't go out and play shows again. You just can't get into those things. So when he first came with these Dubs, and I have nothing in particular against the Dubs family that produces these products, but I had back in probably the mid 90s to late 90s a little bit of an experience with live sound. And to recap, when we kind of went into this a little bit, and you said, save it, we'll just do it. We'll do it on the show and we'll talk about it. So I had this experience when I was out at a show, and I've always been a bit of a perfectionist, and I loved like full sound live. Yeah, I know.
I'm not buying that at all.
I've always loved like just a full mix. I was a guitarist and I did a little bit of backing vocals, but I want to hear everything. I want to hear drums and I want to hear bass and I want to hear like the whole mix. I was never one of those like just me and my monitor kind of guys. Like I want the whole thing. So we had all these monitors, like, and you're piecing together sound systems, or you have sound companies of your buddies and you're borrowing two band systems and putting them together and doing all these things. So you never really had ideal sound. And we were at this show one time, all these wedges in front of us, and an EQ just exploded, like flame shot out of the back of it in the rack. But it was like a shotgun blast that came through all these monitors up front at one time. And it was so disorienting that all of us, we stopped the song.
Like a concussion bomb.
It really was. It was just like,
brown note.
What happened? And I couldn't hear out of my left ear for like 2 days. It was muted. It was turned off. And it scared me. You just have this thought, like, what happens? You ever get like water in your ear and it doesn't come out for a day or so? And you're just like, it's so annoying. Like, it really was terribly annoying. And from that moment forward, I was never again. You guys can use wedges if you want. I'm done. I'm not using them, because I had the exact same experience you did, where I had cotton, the little disposable foam earplugs. I've had, I think they were called Heroes at the time. The orange ones that had like a little
metal
bullet kind of thing in it. I had those, and exact same results with everything. It just felt like someone took everything above 1K and just squashed it. And you just hear this like rumble, right? Like it's, great if I'm running a weed eater or something, or directing an airplane, but I want to hear those
Which
things.
you do on the weekends, I heard.
It's
side job.
Part of me sort of said like, okay, maybe if you were a bass player who didn't sing, that might be okay, because
they don't have brains anyway.
Well,
they don't know how to do anything.
I'm just thinking like,
well,
those low frequencies are kind of unaffected, and maybe that would be okay. But everything that I was producing is in that upper register, so it just felt like it was rolling off all the work. So from that point forward, I started investigating like in-ear monitors, and I had at the time, I immediately went out and did the molds, and the ones I have them up here from Westone, not to be confused with the Westone guitars of the 80s and 90s, but Westone, Westone. They are a company that make a lot of like hearing aid products and those sorts of things. But I went to an audiologist after my hearing came back, and I just had a test. I just went in, and it's like when you're in elementary school. I don't know if you guys did that, where they would come and you'd do the hearing test at school. It's that exact same thing.
Yep.
Where, you hit the little buzzer when you hear the tones, and then they graph it and show you where the loss was. So luckily, I had a little bit of minor loss, but considering how many years I had been playing, I thought it was okay. And, I had just a little bit of loss, but I had those molds made, which is a super surreal feeling when they shoot that sort of stuff.
I had that for
ears.
surfing years ago, and that was
it's like
wild,
swimmer's
man.
earplugs and those kinds of same thing. So I ended up getting these West Tones. The ones that I got, I believe, were the ES49s. So they're an earplug. They're kind of like the thought behind the Dubs. But the nice thing about these is because they are precisely molded for your ear, they don't slip out. Even if you sweat, you move around, they just stay in there. But these you can buy with different acoustic filters. So like I got them, I think, with the 9 dB. You can get a 9 dB filter, a 15 dB, 25 dB, or you can get them with no filters, which is kind of pointless. But so the 9 dB, the point of it is it's supposed to lower the sound coming in by 9 dB. But if you look at the curve, the attenuation graph, if you compare that to the curve on the Dub, see how there's that huge dip? If you look at the graph here, there's not
Holy mackerel.
not that big of a dip. So the point of it is it's just supposed to lower it down. So I started while I was investigating this whole in-ear monitor and trying to learn that whole world. I started by using these at shows, and it was better, but there's still something different because your ears do crazy, amazing things where they compress when they hear loud sounds, and all of those things are happening. It was literally like I was playing, but the volume had just been lowered down.
That's
so
awesome.
It was nice, but it's surreal because some of the energy kind of goes with it, right?
Yeah.
Some of what kind of drives you at a show is that power. And that
You want to feel it.
It's a little weird because you can still feel it, but it's not coming through your ears. So it's different. It took me a few shows to get used to them. I finally got to the point to where I did get used to them, but I still wanted more control, which led me down this path of in-ear monitoring. But to this day, I still have these. They still fit. I haven't lost them, but I think they were about $175, something like that.
Is
but
that something like if you had good insurance, do you think they might
potentially?
cover that?
Yeah. I will take these
self.
out if I go out to a concert. They're in my pocket, and
you got the
I got the ER9s, the 9
ER9s.
dB of attenuation.
Okay. So it goes to 15 and ER25. The ER25 is 25 dBs of
Which is a
attenuation.
lot.
So that's
a lot.
knocking it out.
And you can notice there's a graph on the website there. If we look at the 25, the fall off is a lot more dramatic on those high end frequencies.
Taking it down.
I really like that. Where it's cutting, where there's a little dip is like maybe 4 or 5K. So it just takes a little bit of that edge off.
Yeah.
So when we were out using wedges and that sort of thing, this helped sort of get it under control and make me feel like the mix was still balanced. It was having these true filters was the only thing that didn't make me feel like something was just like hacked off. It didn't feel like it was all lows or all highs or just all muffled.
Right.
It just felt like it had attenuated what was there.
Yeah, that's what I was struggling with these with the Dubs. At least playing live, listening to a show it was good. I still was getting the impact of everything, but I mean, there's no way I can use them live because I have to be able to hear myself better than the inside of my head is telling me I am.
After a lot of research, I highly recommend this. And there's a lot of companies make these sorts of things too. You can get them from a lot of different people.
Can you say that one more time? So
this one, what I'm looking at, their West Tone is the brand. I'm at the earplugstore.com that carries a lot of different things there, which,
there's an earplugstore.com.
Yes. But
the thing that I would suggest is, and I still do this fairly regularly, go to an audiologist and make an appointment. I went in to just get molds made, and I'm thinking like, I don't care what it costs. I want to protect my hearing. So I found an audiologist here in town. I'd never been to her before. I went in and said, I'm a musician. I just want to have a hearing test, and I want to get some molds made. She gave me a test and did the molds for me and didn't even charge me.
Wow,
It was just her. She was just like, you're doing smart things. This took 5 minutes out of my day. I didn't hear that.
I was thinking that, but you actually
you guys
said
are
it.
all thinking it. Come on.
So what was crazy is I went in and I said, I'm a musician. I want to get a hearing test. And she said, well, I can tell you're not a drummer. And I said, well, how can you tell I'm not a drummer? And she said, because you heard in the waiting room when I called your name, and when there's a drummer there, they can't hear it. I have to say it 3 or 4 times. And I started asking her more questions about that. And I said, so are drummers the worst? And she said, drummers actually come in and have worse hearing tests than hunters who go out and fire guns without hearing protection. She said, I see worse tests from them than anybody else, which was sort of crazy, and I'm thinking to myself, well, I stand about 3 feet from a drum set pretty regularly, so
yeah,
it's
we
like,
all have them
what's
right
the
behind
difference?
us.
What's the difference between sitting behind them or standing in front of them? It's just as loud.
I thought you were just
the cup
making
of your ear, maybe.
It could be
a drummer joke. I thought you were just like,
I thought that's where she was
you
going
were smart
with the
enough to
drummer
come in and get a hearing test.
Hey, which also,
thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
which also could be where she was going, but it was a great experience to just get a hearing test and sort of verify that over the last, now I've been, we haven't gotten into this yet, happy to if you'd like to, I switched over to ear monitors probably
I do
around
want to hear about that.
like 1998, 99, and it has been, so it's coming up on, what is that, 20 years?
That's like pre-internet.
That's a long time. So anyway, we talked about these plugs with the filters, like the West Tones are great.
Yeah.
Back then, I went on this quest. We hadn't, as a band that I was playing in, purchased our own PA yet. We were still hiring these sound companies and things. We made this realization that if we're hiring sound companies to do front of house, could we buy our own little system and put together like a monitor rig?
There you go.
So the idea was like, I want to just, to boil it down to its simplest components, I've evolved this system a number of times over the years. Recently switching it to digital, which is even better because now I can recall.
You are a
shows
digital boy.
from specific venues. But back then, what I did, if you wanted to do it simplistically, is I searched on eBay and found a split snake. So anybody that does live sound, you've used a snake before. You plug everything into it, and it runs out to the front of house console and that sort of thing. So they sell them, just passive split snakes, where mine's a rack mount box that's 16 channels. So you plug all the instruments on stage that would get mic'd, instruments, vocals, everything that would get mic'd and go to the PA goes into the split snake, and the split snake has 2 tails on the back. One you just hand to the sound guy and say, hey, here are all
Here's
our
yours.
channels, they're labeled, plug them into your snake. And then the other tail goes into a rack where I have our own mixer, which is just a monitor mixer. So everybody you have to get a mixer that has enough auxiliary sends for mixes that you want to do.
Yep.
So we always have had 4 or 5 people in the bands that I've played in. So we would run that tail there. It would always be, kick, snare, tom, bass, acoustic guitar, electric guitar, vocal, right? That's the whole channel lineup. And on the old analog mixer, you'd sort of never really have to adjust the gain or the knobs or anything, as they just stayed like they were. And then those auxiliary sends fed an individual transmitter. So every guy in the band, if you wanted your own unique mix, you had to have a transmitter. So I built this basic system, and that for me was like the huge unlock, because now I could get a mix like I was sitting in my studio at home wearing a pair of headphones, and it was high fidelity, it was vibrant, it had kick and snare, and if I wanted to just turn the snare down on a specific song or something, I had that control, right? You're no longer at the mercy of anybody, and you can control your own mix.
You weren't constantly telling the sound guy more,
right?
More of this, more of that.
Everything keeps like
going,
it's like
we used to have a joke during sound check when we used wedges. That sound guy would say, "What do you want in your monitors?" And someone would say, "I want everything louder than everything else," because that's where you ended up. It's this war against your ears when you're using wedges that you keep pushing it. If you're a singer, especially, I can't hear myself. I need more vocal. And what people don't realize is that what you're actually just doing is slamming your ears to the point to where when you're getting more, you're actually getting less. It just keeps going and going and going, and then that's when it's doing damage to your hearing. It's just going up and up and up. With the in-ear solution, the mix is so thick and so fat and so warm. Things that you could never, like if you wanted your bass player's bass to be cranked up in your mix, you would never do that as a singer, because now it's starting to mask the frequencies of your vocal, right? You have to make those compromises. When you're doing an in-ear monitor and control your own mix, you can really make it sound like it's a studio mix. The beautiful thing about today's system, that basic layout that I just described there with the split snake and the transmitters and things is the same. But what I've built for other bands and what I've built for the band that I'm playing with now is we built the system around the Mackie, I believe it's the DL1608, the little iPad. There's no faders on it. It's just all an iPad app that you dock, or you can run it remotely. Behringer makes a nice digital mixer for that too, but because it's digital, we'll go early to a show, get a nice long sound check, get it all tweaked out, and save it. Then we go to different venues, and the nice thing about this mixer, now that we've added the front of house PA portion to it too, we can have a guy go out front with an iPad, who's our engineer, mix the left-right mix for front of house. If you need him, your hands are busy, you could say, hey, turn this up in my monitor, and he can do it from out there, or you can walk back to the iPad and turn it up, or you can load it up on your iPhone, iOS device, and you can control your own mix from that. So we still have the same setup with the split snake and everybody's individual transmitter, but we've expanded it to be something where you can store it and save it from show to show to show.
That's
so
cool.
If you get in a certain venue that might be super boomy and you cut some low end out of some things, you just save it for that venue and you go back the next time, recall. So we don't even sound check anymore. You just plug in and just kind of go, oh, yep, everything's working.
Right.
You just make sure the cables are good.
So do you recall when you were telling me about that, and you're like, yeah, right, this, yeah? And I was like, that's awesome. I am not doing 4-hour shows singularly with a snake. It's like, I set up, I've got wedges, I got a mic on my amp, and I tap mine and go, check. That's the extent of my sound show.
It gets more complicated. Like the shows that I go out and play are typically like we're there for 4 hours. They're long shows. Or if it's us and another band, a lot of times we'll provide the sound and then let the other band play on our stuff. But I gave you a couple pointers that day.
Yeah.
There are, like, the way that I just described is my favorite way to do it. If you want to build your own system and you want to carry it around, you could carry a small version of that system in and just maybe not run everything through it. You could do something like that. But we use the Shure PSM 200 systems, which are
the Shure PSM 200,
which I believe has been discontinued, and they have just released the 300. It's kind of a middle of the road one. You could get them on eBay for used for about $300. New, they were more like 7 or 8. The Shure makes some higher end systems, but when you get into the higher end systems, you get usually two things. You get a lot longer range, which, the shows I'm playing, the transmitters are at most 15 feet away from me. I mean, they're often, I'm right on top of them, literally.
Right. Unless you have to go over to the Ovation stand.
Right, unless I have to go up to the Gracie stand, yeah. They're often right there. So I don't need range. I'm not, Britney Spears doing a Vegas show.
Swinging on like a rope.
Right, yeah, I'm not doing that. And often they also add the ability to have a number of simultaneous transmitters. Like you can add 30. Well, I only need 4 or 5, so I don't need those higher end systems. So it's been a nice unit. But the PSM 200, the thing for someone like you that might be going into a venue where you got house sound and you have 3 minutes to set up if you're lucky, those sorts of things. The nice thing about the PSM 200 is that on the front, it has 2 inputs, and on the back, there's the reverse of the XLR connector, and those are just direct wired loop throughs. So you could take, for instance, you sing and play guitar. You could plug your vocal into channel 1, your guitar into channel 2. There's a knob for each one, a little tiny 2-channel mixer set up so you can control it. And then you would, out of the back of that, that's where the sound man would plug in your vocal and your guitar in the straight loop through. So your volume wouldn't affect that at all. Then you could, in your ear, get your guitar and your vocal. Obviously, you couldn't get the rest of the mix because there's nothing feeding it.
Right.
In our case, what we do is we run things to a mixer beforehand. I get the whole mix. I literally want everything. I want overheads, I want kick, I want snare, I want anything and everything if it's going into the front of house mix, I want it in my ear. But there are guys in the band that I play with that get the lead vocal, a lot of their backing vocal, and then like our singer, he wants bass. He uses bass to cue his vocals off of.
Yeah.
'Cause, you get some bleed through other pieces.
Yeah.
But his is mostly bass and vocal. So you could get any or as much or as little as you want.
Man, oh man, I think we're gonna have to revisit this again at some point in time. In some
other point time,
whatever they say in the
some
words
other time
today.
point.
Yeah, that's like it's so much to think about, and but it's solid. It makes me want to run out and get one of those, but there's
actually I want to start a band again just so I can go out.
Yeah, I mean it's something I have to face. I can't continue to do the same thing I'm doing with shoddy hearing protection. I will end up losing. I got to go in for a hearing test.
We should all go get a test together and then compare our results.
Ooh, that's a
I
good
will
idea.
fail.
I love that.
I will fail.
What?
Because I have been crappy about ear protection the entire musical career.
I got a test, and I was expecting that I had some like like sounds in my ears, etc. And I was like, oh man, I've done it. I went in and got a test, and they were like, your hearing is perfect. I was like, what?
So I'm just mental.
After
Awesome.
10 years of like, what's the dumbest thing I've ever put in my ear? Because we used to rehearse in this like metal, storage unit.
Yeah.
You'd have to go in.
Oh,
and,
my
like,
gosh.
put
Oh, yeah.
your furniture in.
Yeah.
And it was so loud, and every once in a while I'd forget. And one time I put gum in my ear. And that was dumb. That was the dumbest thing I ever did.
Okay.
I put gum in my ear. It's like, I can't take this tonight. And then it got hot and it melted and I couldn't get it out of my ear. Idiocy, right?
It's kind of like
But-
waxing your ear with gum.
It was dumber. It was dumber than that. It was just, or have you guys ever done the like napkins at the gig? You're like,
Oh,
oh
sure.
shit, you dip it in water and put,
Yeah.
to make it expand a little bit, whatever you got to do.
We had to do that at the restaurant the other day.
The
Fire
fire
alarm went off, and it was just brutal, and we were instantly just shoving napkins in our ears.
But after
It helped.
After all that, I was like, sweet, I don't have to wear anything.
Yeah.
I started thinking that way. I was like, oh, 10 years, 12 years, and my hearing is perfect. But I got to think like how long. But there's a point,
Yeah.
right, where you
Yeah.
so you do have to pay attention. So I think you're really onto something here.
Yeah.
Can't get
Well,
lazy.
stoked. I know that we're going to broach this topic again in the future. So let's get on to our top 4 real quick. Speaking of what we were talking about earlier. So our top 4 today is combo or head cab. Preferences. Okay, Jay.
I'm going to start because here's the answer. It depends. So I don't think I can have one or the other. Because anytime it's an outdoor gig, it's got to be. I've tried both. Like
It doesn't have to be a flippin' Marshall stack or anything.
no, but you need like a little combo, like a 300 or even a 300 watt combo that I used to have, that the Mesa Boogie Walkabout. Never seemed to be enough for like outdoor gigs.
Mm-hmm.
It was something was like
you need to push air.
it needed to be like a big gigantic rig. And what I used to do is, I'd have the Carver, I'd power 2 cabinets, and like that always kind of needed to be a necessity for like an outdoor gig or a really big room. But when I don't need it, I definitely don't want to carry all that crap around.
Right.
So I kind of want both.
Modular, baby.
Yeah.
Like if you had two of Jeff's cabinets and a head,
Right.
right?
Which is that's what he does, right? He's got a 500 watt watt
that's
head.
what he
and
played in
pushes
my
it
band.
to 250 each one.
Massive amp, little tiny box,
Yeah.
and man, that thing was.
Mark Bass used to have
worked.
those little. I was always suspect of them. The little 500.
Yeah.
It was like the thing was like as big as this computer. It was
super
like
light,
teensy,
too.
and but it didn't sound that good. It didn't sound
Yeah.
like it was loud. But anyway, so I want both.
Modular. So what you're saying is a modular. So a head and base, head in the cabinet,
Yeah, but
head in multiple cabinets.
yeah, for me it's like there's no easy. There's no. It's like you just got to have a bunch of crap. Damn it. Why?
No one's gonna argue with that except our wives. Aaron, what you got?
I want you to go.
Why? Okay,
You
fine.
always go last.
So I went from gotta have a head in a cabinet to because when you're starting out and you're playing, you want to emulate your heroes and all that business, right? And we've touched on where I started earlier on. I started, and I had this giant 412 Carvin cabinet, powered powered by a little
Oh God.
PV60 with a rack mount tubular rack mount Chandler tube driver. It was I mean, anybody worth their salt must have looked at me like, what the hell is this guy doing? But, I didn't know any better, and that's what I had. And, then progressed into like even more at a Randall half stack at one point in time early on. Since then, I went way back into combo land, and up until the point we mentioned before, I've got a Vox AC15 right now. However, from our recent podcast where we interviewed Dave Harris, a boutique amp builder here in town, he's going to build me a new head, and Jeff and I are going to build a new cabinet.
Nice.
And so, I
Precious.
And here's the weird thing: an actual deciding factor here is when I'm laying a tube amp down in my trunk, I'm just like, this isn't right. How is this a good idea?
Right.
But there's no other way to transport it. So I figured, you know what? If I get
Even moving a tube amp anywhere scares
Right,
you
yeah,
because you think
right.
I could bust something and it's $400
Right, the whole thing. So, having his being point-to-point wired and everything, I was like, okay, this is easily portable, it's easily fixable, and damn, it sounds good, right? Do that with, the speaker of choice that I want. I might even do a little full range kind of thing, because I do the other stuff with the cache stuff. And so being able to plug in and get a little bit more sound, it'd be awesome if I could like flick a switch and just have the 12 or make it full range. I'm sure Jeff can work that out. So I'm now swinging back over to head cab.
Interesting.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Hit me.
I'm kind of opposite of you. It's like I've ultimately landed on.
You're standing on the other side of the table from me. Get to the point.
Just give me a combo. I mean, if I'm playing guitar, it's easy. I mean, combos get loud enough and just throw their signal everywhere.
Sure.
So that's fine by me. I'm just old and lazy. I don't want to do that stuff anymore. I mean, it is one of the factors of being in a band that I just got so tired of was just moving equipment. It's day of show, got to get to the practice space, got to load everything up, got to go to the gig, got to set it up, got to play the
magic,
gig.
bro.
And then after
That's
the gig, when you
journey.
just want to go drink and mingle, got to tear back down, load up. And
But
then,
you have to do that regardless of if you have a combo or a head and a cab. It's one extra piece.
Well, yeah, but usually, at least me, I always think that the cabinets are going to be big. I don't know. Maybe that's like my bass playing days. I always had bigger cabinets. So.
Oh, that's right. I forget you're talking about bass.
Well, no. I mean, I'm talking about guitar, but
What you need is like a custom with a K, a custom tuck and roll 8 amp or an 10-inch speaker tower.
or a set of roadies that would just do all the work for me.
Right.
Or
I could
DI
just
box.
play. Or DI box.
Yeah.
Anymore, I mean, right? That's all you need.
Yeah.
But
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. I'm not going to fight you. I just want to press. I want to press. I want to make you be resolute in your actions.
I'm resolute.
Brian, wait.
Bring us
Let me
home.
guess. Thumb drive.
Yeah, I was gonna say we've talked about my rig. It's neither. I have, like most of you, have done the whole thing back and forth. I think I was trying to remember the first amp I ever bought after your Chandler tube driver story, and I remember the first amp I ever bought was in the late, maybe it was probably 1990, and it was a gray carpet-covered Fender M80 single 12 combo amp that you could tell when it was on
That's the little red knobs one?
Yeah, the red knobs
Oh,
one.
yeah, I had one of those.
You could tell when it was on the distortion channel because it went And that's you didn't even have
that
to.
was a Super Chorus series. They
Yes.
had that. Yeah. Okay.
That was the first amp, and then shortly after that, I got into like the GSP 21 from Digitech, and I was playing it with a combo, and then I bought a Marshall Valve State head and two 412s that were snakeskin covered. So I've been down there.
Oh, yeah.
Carrying around two 412 cabs
That's
and,
awesome.
and all that kind of stuff.
Wait, was it white snakeskin? Was it natural snakeskin, or was it purple snakeskin?
It was white. Yeah, it was boa, technically.
Okay.
You know, faux boa.
Faux boa.
So yeah, I'd even covered the Marshall head in the same stuff so that matched, the whole thing.
Good for you.
But once I got into the modeling amps and started going, with the Line 6 stuff, and then we talked about my Fractal, my Axe effects that I play, I just take a DI out of it. So I play full range. I have the Fractal, and I essentially go sort of component. Like it's a little different, more like head combo. Or head cab, but I'll do the Fractal that goes into a Matrix 800 watt power amp. I don't need an 800 watt power amp because I don't even turn it on. It's there, and I play a single 12 full range Matrix speaker that I put on top of the rack. The only reason I carry a speaker live, because per our conversation today about hearing protection, I have custom molded JH audio, 8 driver per ear earbuds in my ear. I couldn't hear it if it was cranked all the way up out there. So all I'm doing is cleaning up our mix. So it's one of the things we actually didn't touch on today, but when you do go with like this hearing protection, the only sound, if you were standing on stage with me, you would hear our drummer playing acoustic drums, and you would hear what's coming out of our mouths for vocals, but there's no bass, there's no guitar. It's why turn it up?
It's going through
through our ear. And that sound guys love it because now they're not fighting your stage volume. They can you're way more in the mix now because you're not fighting with it. The only time I turn it up live is if I need to get something to feed back. I'll go back and crank the amp up a little bit just to get it to, that natural feedback. So that's kind of my...
that'll be helpful when we play the Skull down in Athens.
Oh, I've played there.
I don't even know if they have outlets there.
The last time I played a show at the Smiling Skull, they had 2-liter like Coke bottles that they had sawed the half off of and hung them upside down to catch the water that was leaking out of the ceiling.
It's a special place.
And then they would take the top off to drain the buckets.
And they use them double for mosquito catchers in the summer. All right. Well, dang it, that was a good time.
Let's do this again.
Yeah, we should do one. Like we should do some more of these.
What?
I mean, that's the plan. But I'm just
more podcasts.
Yeah.
Oh,
you want to?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's it for these knobs. Please join us on Facebook.com/groups/guitar knobs to share your cool guitar stuff and thoughts on our episodes. We're on Twitter.com/guitar_knobs and also on Instagram @guitar knobs. If you'd like to buy one of our Guitar Knob t-shirts, come visit us at our website, guitarknobs.podbean.com.